दोस्तों, ये ज़रूरी है कि उर्दू ज़ुबान को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग समझें, इसको सराहें और इसमें लिखी गई नज़में और ग़ज़ल समझें। इस वास्ते मैं ये मुनासिब समझता हूँ कि मैं उर्दू नज़म का तारुफ़ अंग्रेज़ी में के सी कांदा साहब की लिखी हुई ख़ताब मास्टरपीसेस ऑफ उर्दू नज़म, इसमें से एक छोटा सा अंश, एक छोटा सा हिस्सा पेश करूँ। तारुफ़ उर्दू नज़म किताब लिखी है के सी कांदा साहब ने। मैं उसमें से कुछ पढ़ रहा हूँ। Poetry, that is Urdu poetry, may be roughly divided into two broad categories, the subjective and the objective. In the subjective kind of poetry, the poet looks within himself and finds his inspiration in his own thoughts, emotions, and experiences. In the objective kind, on the contrary, the poet goes out of himself, observes the world of men and manners, and records its actions and events, its sights and sounds, without reference to his own personality or predilections. The ghazal in Urdu represents the most popular form of subjective poetry, while the nazm exemplifies the objective kind, often reserved for narrative, descriptive, didactic, or satirical purposes. Under the broad head of the nazm, we may also include the classical forms of poems known by specific names, such as matn, a long narrative poem in the rhyming couplets on any theme, romantic, religious, or didactic. Marasiya, an elegy traditionally meant to commemorate the martyrdom of Hazrat Imam Hussain and his comrades of the Karbala fame, or qasida, a panegyric written in praise of a king or a nobleman. For all these poems have a single presiding subject logically developed and concluded. The ghazal, as is well known, is a short poem, generally of 7, 9, or at most of a dozen couplets in the same meter. It always opens with a rhyming couplet called matla and ends with a maqta. It often includes the pen name of the poet. It follows a set rhyming pattern, a, ba, ka, wa, and so on. The nazm is not bound by any such considerations of length or rhyme scheme. There could be a long nazm, like Iqbal's Shikwa, which contains as many as 186 lines, or a short one like Iqbal's Ram, which only has 12 lines. Further, the poet of the nazm is free to adopt any metrical arrangement that suits his subject or mood. The nazm differs from the ghazal in another important way. The poet of the ghazal is at liberty to talk about love in the first verse, death in the second, envy in the third, mysticism in the fourth, and so on. Such is not the case with the nazm, which owes its strength and identity to the logical evolution of thought and theme. A nazm must have a controlling thought or idea, discussed, developed, and concluded with due regards to the laws of poetic composition. That's why a nazm, as against the ghazal, always carries a title summing up its central theme. There is another relevant point to be noted. The nazm, which began as a reaction against the domination of the ghazal, gives precedence to reason over imagination, and not vice versa, as was done heretofore. Instead of taking the reader into the intricate depths of the human mind, or on flights of fancy beyond this world, the nazm prefers to keep its feet planted on this earth, which is the earth of all of us, and is content to portray real life in a relatively realistic way. despite the multiple merits of the Nazm and despite its relevance to the drama of real life. It holds no threat to the power and popularity of the Ghazal, which in the hands of such consummate artists like Jigar Muratabadi, Asghar Bondwi, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, Fani Badayuni, or Farah Gorakhpuri, has amply proved its worth as an imperishable art form, fully equipped to fathom the mysteries of the human mind, or tap the complexities of love and life. As a matter of fact, the Ghazal and the Nazm are complementary rather than mutually exclusive poetic forms, and their areas of artistic functioning have a tendency to overlap. The two together enable us to make the two essential voyages: the voyage within to strange countries not visible to the actual senses, and the voyage without in the external world of social, religious, natural, or political phenomena. I now end this brief introduction by reciting a couplet written by Mirza Ghalib, which talks about the narrowness of the ghazal. बक़द्र शौक नहीं ज़र्फ़ तंगनाए ग़ज़ल, बक़द्र शौक नहीं ज़र्फ़ तंगनाए ग़ज़ल, कुछ और चाहिए वुसअत मेरे बयां के लिए, कुछ और चाहिए वुसअत मेरे बयां के लिए. Narrow is the mold of the ghazal. Too compressed and cramped, I need a larger space to spell out my thoughts.